7 days ago in wine country, Racecraft Rallycross landed on RaceSpotTV, and today, as it makes its way to the other coast of the US, it's time to land in the Sunshine State for round 2 of RX2. Hello everyone, delighted to have your company once again. We're Arjuna Kankipati on hand alongside with Joe Peak as we get set to go racing at what maybe is the best track in IRX on iRacing. Joe, what a frenetic season opener that we had at Sonoma, but now in the relentless first half of the season with 3 back-to-back races, there's no rest for the weary.
Exactly, and the drivers will have to be on their toes because this is a tight little track. It is a lot more hardly confined. The walls are a lot closer than what we saw at Sonoma. It's almost like a street course the whole way around. So if someone gets in trouble, everybody gets in trouble.
And that's the thing with Rallycross sometimes. Stay out of trouble, not always your own trouble. It saw some drivers last time out at Sonoma be able to take advantage. Will we see that today? Well, we're about to find out. If you're new to Rallycross racing, well, there are several stages to the activities that we have on deck for you today. Qualifying just about to get underway, where drivers get 3 laps and the track all to themselves, effectively to find their fastest way around with that one fastest lap counting, and points are paid out for those that are the fastest. But from there, we split the field up into individual heats. Some drivers directly through to the feature, where majority of the points are, of course, on the line. But the LCQ represents a second and final chance, Joe, for drivers to make their way into the main event.
Yeah, and so you really don't want to bank on those, but they are a safety net if you need them. Watch out for those that maybe should be higher up that find themselves in trouble and have to take advantage of that because they're going to be hungry to try and push their way to the front.
And sometimes we have seen drivers able to come from the back of an LCQ and win races, but it's not very often, and it usually comes at some of the tracks where the jokers are longer laps rather than shorter laps. And that's a thing that we'll talk about in just a few moments' time. RX2 on deck, their drivers just up for qualifying. Now, these are relatively quote-unquote new drivers to the world of Rallycross, under 3,500 I rating, and all with fixed setups to compete with as well. Matthew Lindy, currently with 29 points with a victory at Sonoma, breaking away with Renee Sotens as well. Tyler Schell, Tom Grady, and then Cody Winicki, the rest of the top 5. Early in the season, rather, Joe, I should say, and ultimately, being such an unpredictable form of motorsport, it's hard to read too much into the form, especially knowing that the different types of tracks that we go to might suit a different type of driving style.
Exactly. So watch out for the drivers that are more consistent over the course of the season. Those are the ones that will probably float their way to the top. Raw speed won't do you any good if you can't manage yourself over the long term. So Linda might be leading, but you know, wait until after this one. We could have it completely jumbled around.
And so, with that, let's talk about the track. The challenge on deck for the drivers, the Daytona International Speedway. Of course, everyone knows the high banks and the 24-hour race, but it's also hosted its fair share of rallycross competition. Under a mile in length, but more tarmac than dirt. We flipped that equation compared to Sonoma, where there was more dirt than tarmac. The Joker, once again, a shortcut. But you can't take the shortcut on the opening of the race. We take a start just on the inside of turn number 8, and it's always a rather interesting run into that final corner, Joe.
Absolutely, and that's one of those tarmac areas that you were talking about. So being good on the brakes through there could be oh so important. A lot of sharp, tight turns, a couple hairpins in this one will keep everybody really working hard on those brakes throughout and offer up some passing opportunities, but it will still mean the elbows will be out.
And what we expect when it comes to some of those switchbacks as well is sometimes the opportunity to park it on the apex. Rallycross is as much about being on offense as it is about being on defense, and that's something that I think we're very much looking forward to see as the drivers get now halfway almost done with this qualifying session. 5 minutes were thrown onto the clock already, about 2 and a bit minutes burned off it. It's Tyler Schell provisionally on pole, Linda now 3/10 further back, and remember, with an expected 21 drivers in the field tonight, that means 3 individual heats, 2 drivers advance directly into the feature. The top 3 drivers currently will start in the best position possible in their respective heat races.
Yeah, and Linda still has a lap to go. He's out there right now trying to take it as you see him fly it around up through turn 6 and 7. And then 8 here is all these S's, the switchbacks that you were talking about. And breaking down hard into the final corner here into 9. That inside is the Joker. You see the sign on it right there. Let's see what kind of time he can put. No, he doesn't manage to improve.
Look at all those trophies behind, though. Ultimately qualifying in second, not maximum championship points, but that's still a relatively good spot. Only a couple of drivers, I believe, still out there with some times to improve upon. Everyone who is still running laps is just very much getting final practice under their belt. The iRacing Off-Road Championship Series driver, Tom Grady, first lap, and that will count for him, will be a 47.40, almost second off the pace. He'll get one more attempt to go around in qualifying.
And I expect that, honestly, the first lap's probably going to be the quicker one. The tires, especially with so much tarmac, are going to degrade. Remember, these are not your regular slick tires. They have to be grooved for the dirt versions of it, which means they're going to get hot on the tarmac so much faster. And so the drivers will have to manage that in the race itself as well.
And of course, these are GRC spec tires, which were known for being their own special breed. Grady does enough, though, on that second lap to slide his way forward up into third. We'll start provisionally from pole in what will be the third and final of our heat races. Eric Dubois, final car, that rolls around the track in this qualifying session. That's one of those sections where you're transitioning from the dirt back onto the tarmac. This flip-flop is a action-packed area. You better believe that when it comes to the races. You can try to go 2x2, not always the wisest option. Bouncing over the sausage curve on the run down in towards the line. And with what will be his final attempt in qualifying, it's a marginal improvement. Dubois up to 16th.
Yeah, so 21 drivers. Remember, we won't get a bigger field until we get to that feature. So this will get narrowed down for these heats, and you'll be up against the drivers slotted into their various positions according to that qualifying time. So not everybody's going to be racing each other right off the bat, but you definitely have to perform well in these early heats, or else it's going to be all the more difficult once we get to that last chance qualifier. Looks like we are going to start that first heat in a moment.
And of course, the results from each of these heats will not only set grids for the last chance qualifiers, but for the main event as well. It's fast, frenetic Rallycross action. 3 heats on deck. Let's run you down through how they'll line up for the first of them, where Tyler Schell in the elbows up Sim Sport number 85 will be alongside Tom Grady, while Devin Hughes, Andrew Howell, Kenny Hoffman, and Kim-Andre Bjorklund make up the rest of the top 6. They're already getting ready to rumble, so we'll scamper through the rest of the starting order, where Tim Van Wereld, Sebastian Broberg in that Ford Fiesta, excuse me, Virgil Olsen, Leah, Colton Easterday, and then Franklin Monak will round out the 11 cars in the first of the 3 heats. There you see them lined up and ready to go, just waiting for Sebastian Broberg to take to the grid. And you'll note the interesting thing, they're 3x2 running in towards that final corner, Joe.
Yeah, I was just about to make note of the fact that it's different from normal pavement racing, where we always have the 2 wide starts, unless you're Indianapolis. So the drivers will have to sort themselves out even more. It makes it even more frantic into that first corner, especially if you're in the middle.
And so, as Broberg finally takes to the grid in the number 53, the engines can finally get ready to roar. 5 laps on deck. The top 2 advance directly to the main event. RX2 is go at Daytona, and it's a great jump there from Tom Grady. Already in the background, drama for Andrew Howell and Kenny Hoffman, but Grady gets shoved wide as Tyler Schell asserts himself at the very front, rumbling to the line, almost 3 wide for second. Over the jump, Grady's going to lose out as well. More contact, one of the Subarus gets pushed wide.
That's Hughes, and he's able to carry on, just glance the wall, but he might have a penalty for skipping the jump. Yes, and he has to slow down because of that. So he is going to cycle all the way to the back. Schell not wasting any time up there at the front, as the rest of them are still looking at nose to tail through the hairpin.
It's always the opening lap where you see the most drama, and we didn't even get in towards the first braking zone before a couple of cars span it around, but everyone's still on track. The top 2 seemingly taking to the Joker. Excuse me, that was Kim-Andre Bjorklund who took to the Joker and is going to emerge directly alongside Tyler Schell. The Fiesta goes around. Another driver will get a penalty for shortcutting the track, and now Schell will have to watch as cars try and slide their way on through.
Oh, Grady catches up because of that. This is going to go great for him. In fact, yeah, he is through as Schell gives that time back now, and I think he should be able to carry on. No, it looks like... Oh, yes, okay, he has circuited his car behind them, gets turned. That's going to be Olsen Leah.
Oh, and it's still going. Bumper cars being played. Olsen Leah is the one that, of course, gets the worst of it. but they've all found out just how much of a contact sport Rallycross can be. Remember, 2 seconds is around your Joker Delta. If you can execute that shortcut through the final corner safely, some tracks will have a longer Joker. 2 seconds shorter means that might be something that you keep in your back pocket, Joe, until the very final laps of the race.
Exactly, and for Bjorklund, I went back and checked on that rejoin, and that was within the boundaries. He did not go over the line, so won't get a penalty for that one. Just 2 cars going into that little chicane entering the jump does not work out, unfortunately, as we ride on board to show you how quick and fast things come at you in these cars.
Are we going to see Shell or Grady take to the Joker? Yes, you can see as that's Bjorklund going very, very on the handbrake to get through the final corner. Shell's going to emerge alongside, but not in front, crucially. They'll be fighting now with 2 laps to go. Grady still within Joker Delta. A little bit wide from Shell over the jump. Runs him with a loss of time as Grady slides it up the inside. All that hard work from Tyler Shell goes to naught.
And that's really a sign of a good driver here on the Rallycross side. Seeing what's happening ahead of you and planning ahead. He positioned that car perfectly, and the Subaru just swiped on by as that car went wide.
Gotta say, these RX2 drivers all have fixed setups, let's not forget. It means that they don't have necessarily the full ability to dial in the car's behavior. Tyler Shell looks very, very fast, maybe a bit wayward at times. An iRacing World of Outlaw competitor as we hear the blow up of an engine. Not quite sure who that was, might be Devin Hughes. Tyler Shell runs over the jump once more, but this time by the Joker. 2 spots in the feature on the line. It's Tom Grady within a 2-second Joker Delta getting ready to take the shortcut.
It was Hoffman actually who made contact with Hughes and ran right into the unsafe barrier, I guess you could call it, where there was no tires to stop him. Basically just smashed into the wall. So he's done. His checkered flag out for Bjorklund.
Is it going to be Bjorklund or Grady? Though Grady loses a whole bunch of momentum off the corner. Drag race to the line, but Grady does enough in the Legion Speed Sports 535 to grab the victory in the first heat. Advances along with Kim-Andre Bjorklund. Tyler Shell will feel a little bit frustrated after grabbing the pole position to have to now go to an LCQ. It's going to be a while before the rest of the drivers get towards the line as those involved with opening lap dramas continue to finish things up. It's Colton Easterday and Devin Hughes that will indeed be the final drivers that get to the line and see the checkered flag. And so as we can quickly show you a look at the race results, Grady, Bjorklund, Shell, Broberg, Van Wereld, Olsen Leah, and then Howell. That's your top 7, of course. Easterday, Hughes, Hoffman, and a bunch more, unfortunately, going to have to go through the LCQs. Fast, frenetic Rallycross as mentioned. Here's how they'll line up for heat number 2, where last week's winner, Matthew Lindy, is alongside Thomas Poulsen and Cody Winnicki. Rene Soten's almost 50 years young, alongside Jake Robichaud with Rene Wegner, and then Paul Smith, Greg Johnson, Eric Dubois, and Antoine Saint-Room ready to go. I think we've already got all the cars getting revving their engines, and so as they focus up towards the lights,
and I think they're holding them for a few more seconds here, and then they're going to let them go. But yeah, everybody was raring for this one. They were on the grid immediately.
Nice. I did not even realize that we actually were going to get a couple of minutes to cycle through the grid, and so it's now, as the drivers finally see those lights begin to illuminate, hopefully as Heat 2 gets ready to go, it's less drama on the start this time by 3 by 2. That's how they'll line up at the very front. This is a rather long hold. It's rather unsettling for the drivers as well, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah, but I think they're ready to try and take off as the lights are up and the engines are revving. Green is out. Will we get a cleaner one this time?
Paul Smith, RaceSpot's own, is in the background and hoping to get through the chaos, but Lindy leads them in through the final corner. One of the Subarus goes very, very deep. That's the newcomer, Eric Dubois, who gets a bit of contact with Smith, but through a crossing towards the jump they will go. Lindy's the one that runs wide. Taking advantage, Thomas Poulsen will lead them, and last week's race winner is dropping to the back.
Like we said, and 2 more getting turned around in that melee. That is going to be, I think, Richaud and Antonissen, unfortunately. So they will fall to the tail end of the field, side by side for 3rd here, trying to pick up the scraps until they won't advance.
And this is so important for the no control, or rather the It is indeed the no-control duo at the very front. Winicki and Smith were the ones that were fighting behind. You couldn't take the Joker the first time of asking on the race start, and I don't think anyone has taken it the second time by as well. There's Paul Smith in that Team Mad Fiesta, slotting back into line behind René Wegner as we jump over what is sometimes an interesting place, and Smith just sets up this next part. This dirt section all about looking forward, Joe, and trying to think in advance.
Oh, and Wegner's going to clip the wall. Smith is going to be able to sneak through. A little bit of a punt there from Linda, who's trying to come back on this one. Can't quite go by. I'd be surprised if Wegner doesn't have serious damage the way he hit that Armco.
And the worry there is steering damage can make these cars rather unpredictable to handle, and that's not what you want to see. Smith will take to the shortcut, leaves the Subarus to battle. He's going to emerge just behind Winicki, so not within those top two transfer spots. Winicki just keeping within the Joker Delta. Smith launches it over the sausage curbs, somehow holds on to it, and as Lindy and Wegner battle just behind, Smith's going to be left right back into that battle where he was hoping to avoid taking that Joker.
Yeah, and so honestly, I think this is a good call from him because he was so close to it. If one of them sent it in deep, he could be kind of collected innocently, riding on board with Linda. And unfortunately, not quite close enough here. We'll see if he tries it. No, big defensive move there from Wegner down into the braking and 9. No, actually, he's going for the Joker. And
that is a much more smooth Joker than anything we have necessarily seen so far. Wegner in front of Smith, as was expected, but still, crucially, 2 seconds back from Cody Winicki, as Lindy looks like after the victory a week ago, it's going to be a last chance qualifier fight for him. 3 at the front, though, for those 2 spots once again. Winicki's not necessarily going to be worrying Paulson just yet. It's more René Sotens in that 57 that will be concerned.
Yeah, he does not want to make a mistake. Honestly, if I'm him, I'm not trying to catch up to the leader, especially this late in it. Just rifle off the laps. Don't let Cody get close enough. Speaking of which, Cody's taking the Joker now.
Is it going to send him out in front of Sotens? No, it won't. Just inside had a peek, but the 57's able to hold on as we scamper on to the final lap of the race, and it's a no-control 1 and 2 as they get ready to send 2 of their Subarus, baby, toward the main event.
Just enough space between them down through 4 and 5, thankfully. But they should gain some of that time back because Sotens and Paulson have not taken their Joker yet.
And so, as we run our way to the end of heat number 2, there are now 2 more drivers seemingly confirmed in the main event, and after this, 2 more to join them in that final heat. To the Joker for the Subarus of Thomas Paulson and for René Sotens. They'll advance as the no-control duo work their way on forward. And of course, the rest still have some work to do in the LCQ. Wegner, Smith, Johnson, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And Matthew Lindy's going to be very disappointed to come across the line in 7th spot.
That was a rough one for him, but like you said, he'll get more opportunities. Definitely needs to take the chance to kind of analyze that race and figure out what he can do differently.
Well, as the drivers once again will give us a quick minute to look through the results of Heat 2 before we need to grab a look at the results, or rather the grid for Heat number 3. Here's a look at how they'll all line on up in the last chance qualifiers, at least respectively. Paulson's and Sotens move on forward. Winicki, Wegner, Smith, Johnson, Lindy, Robichaud, Room, and Dubois all have some work still left to do. And so they'll be watching on to see who joins them out of one of these final 2 drivers to work their way forward into heat number 3 as we try and get that up on screen for you. In fact, I think because of how the formation has shifted things up, we'll skip heat number 3 and go directly into an LCQ. That's jumbled things up. It means Tyler Schell, Sebastian Broberg, Sim van Wereld, Vergaard Olsen, Leah, Andrew Howell, and then Colton Easterday all run inside of the top 6 with just Devin Hughes and Kenny Hoffman behind them. And I do believe 4 spots in the main event, Joe, on the line.
Yeah, and you're right. It is 4 that are going to be advancing. So a lot more out here that takes some of the pressure off, but not all. Again, you don't want to rely on that. I'd say try and get out front early.
And with the 2-second Joker Delta, we haven't seen too many of the front runners take it early. This might be the first time that maybe drivers try and take it. Not on the start. Remember, you are not allowed by the sim to take it on the start, but maybe the first time of asking, the first full lap being complete. Engines rev, 4 will leave us, 4 will advance. It's a long hold once again, but it's a good start from the outside initially. But now Sebastian Broberg up the middle takes advantage. Olsen Leah gets spun. Drama with Colton Easterday. Tyler Schell, though, battles his way up the inside of Sebastian Broberg and to the race lead.
Andrew Howell also off before he could reach that first right-hander as they fly over the jump. Some of them a little better than others. Into the wall. Is that Schell again?
He's done it again in that Ford Fiesta and now slows down and will let Devin Hughes maybe take a look up the inside. Crucially, still inside of the top four. Andrew Howell was able to get his car off the line without too much of an involvement in all of that. And as Kenny Hoffman looks to try and get past Tyler Schell, so much drama once again on the opening lap.
This is not good. Schell's still in advancing position, but he's on the bubble. Hoffman's going to be breathing down his neck here as we see a few of the cars in the back try to use this joker to help them get themselves some clean air. Maybe no. Schell, unfortunately, in the thick of it, and he goes over the sausage curb once again.
It's deja vu behind Schell. Kenny Hoffman in the Racecraft Academy car on the brakes, and now I think into the wall as he lost his car over the jump. Schell really, though, now will probably want to joker this time by. Sebastian Broberg's got an advantage up towards the front, and as Schell fires it up the inside of Leah, bullies his way on through. He's back into one of those 4 transfer spots to the main event.
Oh, that was a great move there. Schell not sitting around. He's not going to let it get him down here as we ride on board with Howell, who sits outside the transfer positions, not going to elect to take it this time, still needs to take that joker.
I wonder if we are going to see some drivers get bottlenecked behind Sim van Wereld in that number 18 as Sebastian Broberg's breaking away. Last time by was almost a full second faster than the number 18. Devin Hughes and Tyler Schell, of course, still run behind. We saw Andrew Howell. He's behind the first car to have jokered, not in a transfer position. Surely he'll want to take advantage of the shortcut. A bit wide there from Van Wereld as we file into the final sector.
Broberg is miles ahead here, already has his joker done. He's looking pretty good. Van Wereld is going to head through, get himself some clear air, and does a beautiful job on that one as we continue to watch from on board the Fiesta of Schell. Still sits in 4th. Nobody's been able to overtake him yet. In fact, he might get an opportunity as off to the side goes Hughes.
And it's so easy to make a mistake over that jump. That's what we're seeing. Olsen Leah's now joined and brought Andrew Howell along to make it 4 cars in the final 2 spots that will make their way on forward through that harsh hairpin where sometimes drivers yank on the hairpin. Didn't seem like too many of them were locking the rear tires to spin it around. Schell and Hughes still have the joker to use. 1 more lap after this. Schell's the only one to take the 2-second shortcut.
Looks like he'll be joined a little bit behind by Howell, but he's no longer a concern. In fact, Howell comes out right in the thick of Olsen Leah and Hughes. They're going to be able to make that cycle through smoothly. In front of them, Schell is actually on the attack of Van Wereld.
This is rather interesting to see how Tyler Schell, after all of the drama, is still looking to push his way on forward. Pushes Van Wereld through that right-hand hairpin, and with the tires almost getting lit up, fortunately no drama. That's going to see race control intervention needed. Remember, 4 advance out of one of these LCQs. It's Sebastian Broberg that will grab the victory, though, clear at the front. No such drama for him. Who will be second? It will be Van Wereld, then Hughes, just in front, I think, of Tyler Schell, and by 36 thousandths of a second.
It was extremely tight, but I mean, the good news for Schell is he's at least sneaking above the cut line, just barely at the end. That's what he needed in that situation, is just to be at least above 4th, so he's good.
And there's a look at the confirmation. Again, 4 to advance. The Elbows Up SimSport machine 36 thousandths behind, but ultimately it does not matter. Let's grab a look then at the starting grid for LCQ number 2. Again, this time 9 drivers enter 4 advance, with Nicky Wegner and Smith on the front row, Johnson, Lindy and Robichaud behind them, with Antoine Room, Eric Dubois and Franklin Monac rounding out the 9 machines that will work their way around the track. Nice to see 2 Fiestas in the mix as well to break things up once again. We do have a few seconds as the drivers now get ready to rumble in towards that final corner. Paul Smith backs out of it, lets Winnicki lead them on the inside like a bowling ball out of nowhere there. Lundy gets spun out. Big drama through the final corner as we come towards the line. Winnicki and Wegner 1 and 2.
That was the 298 that chucked it into the corner, and it worked out for him, although I don't think he made many friends off of that one. Right now, Robichaud is the last one to advance as they sit in that red number 69.
And so we'll grab a look at the replay, figure out if there is significant damage on Lindy's machine as the Fiestas get checked up. That's Greg Johnson behind Robichaud as they cycle in through what is the International Horseshoe. Looks a little bit different, of course, than this configuration that we run. Who takes to the Joker? Two of the Subarus dive on in, and it forces Johnson to run a little bit wider and a little bit more deep on the brakes than he would have liked. Contact in towards turn 2, though. Wegner gets spun on the nose of Antwersen Room, and it's going to let the C's part and a couple of drivers slide on through.
Oh man, Jake is just grinning ear to ear after that one. That was handed to him on a silver platter, and he's going to try and run away now. Johnson, though, in behind him. And he's also got Dubois in there, but only a couple have taken the Joker, so this still could get shuffled around. Watch the blue and white machine, boom, just basically chucks it up the inside. And like I said, it worked, but it was a little aggressive.
And then this is the second bit that we just about saw. Oh, it's just too into that opening corner. Doesn't usually work. And like you said, Jake Robichaud will be smiling from ear to ear with the amount of time that he had to cycle on through. There's Eric Dubois, by the way. Final car inside of the cut line, but still yet to Joker, being chased down by Paul Smith as they fight for second. Johnson in the Fiesta, Robichaud behind in the Subaru.
So they actually have change for Wegner and Linda as well. Number 3 not doing what we would have expected and is still trying to catch up here at this stage as we ride on board, looking backwards, seeing that suspension travel work a little deep in there, unfortunately.
These two have plenty of gap behind, and they are not just fighting for second and third, they are also fighting to get on slightly better starting spots for the feature, so that will be important as well. Every spot gained will be 2 spots come the starting grid. There's Matthew Lindy, who has taken the Joker, but still behind Smith, behind Dubois. Last week's winners finding out just how unpredictable Rallycross can truly be.
And unfortunately for Smith, he's just outside the line, so I'm not sure if he'll be able to get through. It's awful late. He needs something big to happen in front of him.
He is closing on Dubois, though. Last lap they were split by about 100th of a second, and both cars will save their Joker for the final lap. So it will be decided wheel to wheel between the two of them. 1 spot on the feature on the line.
Using that tongue to try and make himself go a little faster there is Paul, but he is fully focused as you see him slam down after the jump. Oh, Wegner is rolling over.
And somehow I think has he triggered the end of the race? No.
He's jumped the barrier.
Goodness, we'll have to grab a replay of that in the warm-up between this LCQ and the main event, but it is as Winicki scrambles to the line that he'll advance. Johnson and Robichaud still comfortable, and Paul Smith's made a mistake. Eric Dubois will do enough to take the final spot in the main event away from RaceSpot's own.
So, as far as I can tell, it was a car getting into the back of the 77, and it may have been the 3 actually that caused this. Yeah, so coming off of the Joker, and that's what happened. So he gets the sausage curb, and then from there it's just a chain reaction of events.
I will say that is something that Tony Hawk, Travis Pastrana, the Nitro Circus greats would have been proud of, but I don't necessarily think that's what they would have wanted to see. So we have our main event grid locked and loaded. Let's quickly show you the results of that final LCQ for the drivers and tell you who unfortunately is saying goodbye. We can say that Winicki, Johnson, Robichaud and Dubois will move on forward. Paul Smith the first to miss out, with Franklin Monac also finishing on the lead lap. Could not be said though for Rennie Wegner, for Matthew Lindy and for Antwersen Room, who will all join us in a week's time over at Brands Hatch. But of course, there's still one more race to go. And I do believe that with 2 advancing out of each of the heats, and then 4 out of each of the LCQs, that we've got a bumper grid of 14 in the main event.
Whew. That's going to be a packed track out there. If you thought it was frantic with what we were watching before with 8 and 9 cars, this is just going to be a madhouse out there. But the big takeaway for me here, Arjuna, is making sure you get things right over the jump. That has been the make or break part of this circuit today.
100%. And we are again seeing the fact that maybe the fixed setups are playing a bit of a factor when it comes into that. Let's take a look at the RX2 Racecraft analysis, race analysis. 5-lap heats, 5-lap LCQs, and now double that length for the feature. They also get 8 incident points to play with, but the fixed setup very much going to be something that they're having to adjust to. Adjusting your driving style, Joe, is always a little bit more difficult for drivers sometimes than it is finding a setup that's maybe more accustomed to the way they want it to feel.
Yeah, like changing a car or changing who you are, which is easier. And unfortunately, trying to adapt to yourself is often difficult, but it can also be a sign of a really great driver. Those that can just hop in, take what they've been given and say, all right, let's drive to the car and not to me, those are the ones that are going to find a bright future ahead of them.
I don't believe that we are getting a track reset before this main event either, which means for 10 laps, it's already slippery. The dirt's been moved around with this fantastic iRacing dirt model. These Rallycross drivers are ready to go. It's 12, not 14, because of course we missed one of the heat races, went directly into the 2 LCQs. But with that said, they are ready to go. Let's run you down through the RX2 main event here at the Daytona International Speedway. It'll be Grady, Paulson, and Bjorklund. They've all been watching on after their heat races, and now we'll roll from the front row along with Sotens, Broberg, Winicki. They will line up in 5th and 6th positions with behind them Sim Van Wereld, Greg Johnson, Devin Hughes, Jake Robichaud, Tyler Schell, and Eric Dubois. Some work to do towards the back for some of our drivers. We've already seen plenty of drama before we've even gone into the line. Joe, should we expect more as we get ready to rumble?
I'm pretty sure, because, I mean, more cars, more problems, right? So I think with those two deep, 3 wide start at the front, it's going to be tough to stay out of trouble.
And look at how they go straight initially and then have to filter left into the braking zone. It means that you're always jockeying for position, and the launch RPMs, getting these cars off the line, Joe, it's an art in and of itself.
It really is, but it looks like they're getting ready to go as the engines now start to rev.
RX2 main event is ready to go. We'll have a new race winner after Matthew Lindy was eliminated in the LCQs, and it'll be Grady, Paulson, and Bjorklund that spring their Subarus into action on the front row. Already Paulson and Bjorklund have gone around. More drama for another one of the no-control machines. Sotens is buried into the tire wall. Tom Grady will lead them to the line, and it's Broberg and Sim Van Wereld that are now 2nd and 3rd positions.
Oh, the ultimate sin in racing. Don't take out your teammate. Unfortunately, they now have it all to do. I mean, there's no cautions in this thing. It is a sprint to the finish, so they've got to try and catch and pass everyone.
And even though we double the race length, we don't add more jokers, more shortcuts. Grady a little bit wide as we scramble over the dirt back towards the line for the first time of asking. One of the Fiestas, Tyler Schell, already up 6 positions after starting down in 11th spot. Will look down to the Joker, will follow Sebastian Broberg in toward the 2-second shortcut to lead at the line at the end of lap number 1. It's the number 53, the first of the drivers to have made their way on forward from an LCQ.
Remember, Broberg used this to great effect last time, getting the clear air in front of him. These cars, I mean, obviously you want to be able to see up ahead of you, but just not having that worry about what's that other guy doing allows you to focus on running your own lap. So this will help him tremendously. And I think we had Van Wereld spin off in the background as we watch on board.
Van Wereld down to the very back of the field as well. That is heartbreak for him after a really good start. Saw him get through all the drama. Grady a little bit wild in through the final corner. Tyler Schell's right there. Winicki and Devin Hughes have been battling. Winicki down to the shortcut of his own volition. More and more drivers on the left side being illuminated in gold. It's Grady that's now being sandwiched. Mistake from Broberg. And the Legion Speed Sports 535 gets turned around on the nose of the Fiesta.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Broberg that suffered from that one, but Grady didn't quite have the move like he had before. A punt, though, from Schell. He's given as good as he gets. He got shoved around before, but now he's had enough.
And are we going to continue this action into the final corner? These drivers have all taken the Joker. And wow, through the international horseshoe, Winicki and Broberg put on a display of gymnastics that would not be out of place at the Olympics, and Tyler Schell has broken away clear at the front.
And I think, I'm trying to make out someone else's blown their engine and they're taking more cars out.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. It looks like Soten's now involved in it. It is just a mess, and that was Bjorklund who blew his engine there in that.
So, this is the start. They're all getting ready to scramble away from the line, and already we talked about how its filters left. Bjorklund and Poulsen got mixed up, and I don't even know if René Sotens actually was involved in the same incident.
There's what sent them off initially, and I'm very glad, honestly, that he didn't get stuck in those tires. It's easy to do that sometimes, but then it didn't get any better for Sotens. Obviously, he's out of this race now. Well, no, he is out of this race. He is in pit lane as he had to take a tow.
I think this is Van Wereld, who you called as dropping from what was running in fourth, and it's all clipping the inside curb.
Yeah, he just spun himself out there. You got to watch out for those sausage curbs. They're made they're designed as an anti-cut here, so even though these are rallycross cars, they can jump. They can't really power over those things.
Well, you were talking about jumping. Shall we?
Here's why. Watch this. Gonna get shoved into that one on the outside and just tumbles like a top across the infield.
And then it keeps going. Are we done? I don't think we're done just yet.
It goes around the hairpin, honestly. Watch this. More cars are going to get collected here.
Oh, there's more that happens after that. Okay, so one more look from up above, and we'll keep watching after this as well.
So if you go to Sotens, he gets caught up in it, and you'll see what happens here. It's well ahead of him here, but watch. It's a chain reaction. More drivers slow, and that's what causes the checkup here, and then it narrows down under the timing line. So, of course, 4 wide, that's not going to work.
Oh, and the car into the concrete. I tell you what, that was brutal. It's Thomas Poulsen, though, after being spun around at the start, that is back on the podium spots as he takes the Joker, leapfrogs Greg Johnson. I mean, what a wild race we're seeing right now.
I mean, I always say in racing, you just can't give up. You have to keep charging forward, and Rallycross is a good example of that because so much unpredictability can hand you things, and Poulsen will keep at it, as that is Robichaux, who I think just had an off down through 4 and 5.
I mean, that team name, I've got to say, Slapex Racing, that's quite good. You've got to hit a few more apexes than that, though, if you're going to be as bold with the team name. Winnicki, Bjorklund, Sotens, and Broberg are confirmed as DNF from this race, by the way. That is what a wild one that we've seen, as we can jump on board with Tom Grady. We'll maybe be a little bit disappointed that he won't grab the victory, yes, but I think ultimately, after what we've seen today, I think you've got to be happy with a second place finish here at Daytona.
Yeah, and it just occurred to me, I was thinking we didn't even cover what was going on with the Joker laps because there was so much else insanity out there. Well, everybody's just about done with them. So this is very well locked in, barring someone else making a major mistake. Yeah,
there was no Joker strategy in this final, to be fair. It was all decided at the start, realistically, with the exception of Tyler Schell's early Joker, along with Sebastian Broberg. Those were, I think, actually quite interesting. You were correctly pointing out as well, Sebastian Broberg used the early Joker to great effect. One mistake, though, well, it didn't work as nicely.
No, he kind of got shoved off to the side, and Schell's got the U-Haul on his car. He is hauling right now because he knows he's going to get the white flag this time by.
Wow, well, after almost losing our voices at the start, they've calmed things down here at the end of RX2's main event. One more trip around the Daytona International Speedway's long rallycross layout for Tyler Schell, who this time by has no issues over the jump.
And I told you that was the key. That's what caught out Broberg earlier. That is the thing that sent him backwards. So, yeah, it wound up being the very thing that you had to watch out and make sure and pay special attention, maybe lose a tenth or two just to keep yourself safe because it can be your undoing.
And remember that for Tyler Schell, in qualifying, quickest of them all. What a road he had, though, to get here from the LCQs, but back on top at the end. It's Tyler Schell, winner of Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing on the Daytona International Speedway. Coming out on top in the RX2 category, a full 5 seconds clear of Tom Grady and Thomas Poulsen. What a wild way to open up the afternoon. And let's not forget, there's still one more race to come here at the World Center of Racing. Final drivers will come towards the line. Your first introduction to the world of Racecraft Rallycross. Joe, how was that?
That was fantastic. I mean, I've got to call a few Rallycross races over the years. They're not common, but I knew I was in for excitement, and it it didn't disappoint. That to me, what was crazy was just the way that accident in that final race for RX2 just kept going. It started halfway around the track and was still going 5 corners later.
They do say that Rallycross is a contact sport, something that RaceSpot's own Paul Smith will always slightly push back on, but I think we showed today just how chaotic things can be. Let's take a look at those race results and confirm Tyler Schell once again on top here at the Daytona International Speedway. Tom Grady behind in that Legion Speed Sports 535, while the no control number 49 of Thomas Paulson will round out the podium after being spun on the start. Goodness, what a story it will be for him. Greg Johnson fourth in the Fiesta with Tim Van Werrel, Devin Hughes, Jake Robershode, and then Eric Dubois all finishing the race, something that could not be said, unfortunately, for the likes of Kim Andre Bjorklund to Sebastian Broberg or Rennie Sotens or Cody Winnicki. I had them in a slightly different order on my timing screen, but that looks right as well. Ultimately, minimal points across the board for all 4 of them, and so now as we get ready for post-race coverage here of Racecraft Rallycross RX2, we can jump down into victory lane where Joe Peak is standing by with our race winner, Tyler Schell.
Yes, indeed. And Tyler, we noted that your call to get that Joker lap early had a big effect. I don't know if you saw, there was a bit of drama behind you after you did that.
Yeah, that early Joker lap bit me in the heat and B main from other people taking it. So I'm like, well, I guess I should do it now since it's been biting me. So I got lucky and did that and came out in 3rd. And then I think Broberg screwed up and him and Grady got into it. And I was able to perform a bump and run on Broberg and to get by him and just never look back.
Yeah, and I kind of noted during the race that you had that done to you a little bit. There was some guys kind of shoving you around. Was that sort of your message? Hey, I can give as good as I can get?
Yeah, I come from the short track oval side, so a bump and run isn't anything too bad. It kind of just gets them a little loose, and you can go right under them. But they can do that to you also.
Well, what a wild start to this season, and this race definitely delivered a lot of action. Are you looking forward to next time out?
Yeah, I don't even have to look at the schedule, but yeah, Brands Hatch, I'm looking forward to that. I'm not very good there, but I'll give it my best shot and see where we can go.
Well, congratulations on the win. Excellent display out there in the finale.
Thank you. And thanks to everybody that puts this league on, and you guys for taking the time out and broadcasting.
As Tyler Schell, your winner, Arjuna, probably one of the more unexpected winners that we had, I think.
Maybe not on the pace at the start, but yeah, after the way the races in the heats went, absolutely. We're now joined, though, by Tom Grady in that Legion Speed Sports 535, was able to come across the line in second. Tom, talk us through that one. Plenty of drama, especially for you coming over the jump a couple of laps into that main event.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to win my heat, so then I had the pole, and I told myself, I just gotta get a clean start and run away, and the traffic was following me up a lot faster than what I would have liked. Kind of got into it with another car and got spun around and looked at my black box, and I was in 7th or 8th position. Come around the hairpin, and there's cars flying everywhere, cars up in there, and then I'm back in 3rd. So a roller coaster of emotions, but we made it through. we survived.
Talk to me a little bit about the difference between the trucks and these rallycross machines. At a track like this where that jump seemed to be such a crucial part of the story of the race, how easy is it to jump these machines, which are lighter, maybe less heavy than those trucks you're used to?
Yeah, I think I tell everyone they're so similar but different. The rallycross cars, it's so much more technical with your throttle and steering inputs than the trucks. The trucks you can correct yourself pretty easily, but the cars, I think it's the weight and the power It's just you gotta put it right where you want it to be with the right power. Otherwise, you know, you're off in the grass getting slowdowns, or you can even overshoot the jumps too much for what suspension these cars have. You know, so you really gotta line up just right, and especially this track, you know, coming out of that turn 1 chicane, you gotta set it up on the jump for that next chicane. Otherwise, it's not the fast line, you're getting passed right away.
We've started off with 2 of the best tracks in IRX, Sonoma and Daytona. We've still got some classics to come, but Brands Hatch to close out the opening 3 weeks of the campaign. How are you feeling about going to one of the newest IRX tracks available?
Yeah, Brands Hatch and we don't get along too well, especially that turn 1 on the start. But maybe we'll spend some time together this week and build our relationship a little bit. I mean, personally, I like the other tracks. You know, I think Catalunya is one of my stronger ones, so I'm looking forward to that one. And then, you know, keep our streak going. You know, we're 2 weeks in with 2 podiums, and a stronger qualifying and heat performance than last week. So we're building up the points and working towards that top spot like we need to.
Thanks for joining us, Tom. Great race at Daytona. We'll see you next week at Brands Hatch.
Thank you guys, and thank you for streaming, and thank you to all those that support me, my teammates at Factory Sim Sport and Legion Speed Sports, and then my sponsors, Raceline Wheels and Alter Ego Running. Couldn't do it without these guys. Thank you.
Man came prepared with the sponsors on the shirt as well. And we talked a bit about Brands Hatch. It is the fastest first corner of any IRX track. Speeds almost up to 200 kilometers an hour as you get onto the brake and transition onto dirt. Now, Brands Hatch has a history of IRX pedigree in the World Championships. It's also in the real world seen its fair share of real rallycross racing. We don't have that layout, Joe. The version that we have, just as frenetic as you would expect, though.
Oh, yeah, and it's got that awesome jump coming down out of Druids as well, just to mix things up. But you're right, it's going to be one of those where the drivers are going to be at high speeds, which means accidents probably not going to be small ones.
Oof, no, definitely not. And like I said, 200 clicks almost into that opening corner. It always does seem to present its share with plenty of incidents, but just one of 2 races done and dusted. Don't go anywhere on RaceSpotTV. We'll be right back with the main event, RX1. Some of the strongest drivers in Rallycross going to action here at the World Center of Racing. Ready to go for the main event here on a Sunday afternoon on RaceSpotTV. It's Racecraft Rallycross, powered by Next Level Racing, RX1. Delighted to have your company here on RaceSpotTV, where Arjuna Kankipati alongside with Joe Peak ready to call you through 20 drivers battling at the very top of the virtual Rallycross sphere. Of course, a quick look at the schedule is the same as what we've seen with the RX2 drivers, so not much surprise here. 3 frenetic weeks to open up the campaign before Charlotte, Phoenix, and Atlanta through November and December to round out the season and to crown the 2023 Season 2 champion. If you're new to Rallycross, well, Joe, it all begins in the qualifying session underway right now, where points are on the line for those that can go fastest.
Yeah, and that's going to matter. As we've seen, things can change so quickly. You need every point possible, and even the heats. You don't want to give up if you find yourself slotted towards the back. Keep going. Well, I mean, we saw there in the feature that one of the drivers wound up on the podium, even though they were 12th at the end of the first lap. So you've got to keep at it. Every single point will get you something over the course of the season.
And again, we're sometimes unsure how many heats many LCQs are going to be run, depending on how many cars end up racing week in, week out. The feature where everyone wants to be consistency, and being able to get there on a consistent basis will get you enough points to be inside of the championship fight. And they're all trying to dethrone, well, the young Jacob Rafoss, who cannot be beat, it seemed. At Sonoma last week, on top once more. Josh Fox very much kept the pressure on, and Evan McFarlane, after stepping up into RX1 for the very first time, really put on an impressive showing in his own podium finish as well. But much like RX2 was a little bit messy earlier tonight, Joe, RX1 was a little bit messy back at Sonoma.
Yeah, so what is this going to look like here today then? Now, the thing about whether or not it's going to be messy is you have to remember these are the higher level drivers, so the margins are much smaller. The racing is going to be closer, so that means that things can go awry that much quicker. The other ones, yes, you can get those mistakes, but a lot of times they can be a little spaced apart sometimes. This one, it can all just result in a cacophony if just one person has a hiccup.
And so as we look at the track, once again, look at the track analysis, 0.86 miles, 1.38 kilometers. More tarmac than dirt, a bit of a flip compared to what we had at Sonoma, but the Joker Delta just about a 2-second shortcut as well. When we go to Brands Hatch, it will actually be a slightly longer lap, the first time that we'll talk difference in strategy with the Joker lap. We can also quickly talk about our Racecraft race analysis for the RX1 drivers. Again, open setups for them to dial their cars in, but also a slightly reduced incident limit, Joe. They can get away with a little bit less contact and banging and bashing.
Yeah, so they need to watch out for that. And, well, we saw, I mean, that's just a part of Rallycross racing, so that kind of puts them under the gun. Without having many incidents out there. 6X can just be one, or well, it's 3 car hits, I guess, in Rallycross. Normally it's a 4X, but they have lightened it up here on iRacing in this one. But that's not many. Even in the heat races, you can get to those 6X very quickly.
Oh, you put me in a car, I'll get you 6 incident points over the course of half a lap if you really put the pressure onto me. I tell you what, we are all talking about how it's the chase to hunt down Jacob Rafoss in that championship, and as we get ready to go for what should be 2 heats here tonight, let's run you down through, well, how they finished in qualifying. And surprise, surprise, it's not Jacob Rafoss or Josh Fox on pole. Instead, the Havu Gaming number 14 of Ilari Lamansivu joins us once again. He'll be alongside Evan McFarlane and Yoni Palaneva on the front row. Alexander Abadi in the team gold colors has Kieran Lefender alongside him, while Josh Edmondson will be on row 3 alongside Santeri Heiskanen and Zach Blanche. Zachary Drapkin in those red line all colors in that number 56 alongside Robbie Kirtley, to round out the field that gets ready to go for, again, just 2 heat races here today, Joe.
Yep, going to be short and sweet like we saw before, but watch out for those at the front of the field, because they're going to have that track advantage, and they're going to try and make that car wide as possible out here today to make sure that they don't lose that transfer spot.
We, of course, have a similar situation where just the top 2 advance out of this one. And so as we just wait for Lamansivu and for Kirtley to sit their Subarus onto the grid, with the final nervous moments for the drivers as they begin to look up towards the lights. We've talked about how launching these cars is not always the easiest. You're sometimes also trying to predict when you're going to get ready to go. And in this case, just now waiting for Lamansivu, the lone holdout on the grid itself. Some mind games, mental mind games being played.
Exactly. Just making everybody else wait and then plop it on the grid, put it into gear, and get on your way. Does look like, I think that should be it. Lights are up.
Here we go. Once again, the rumble of engines at the World Center of Racing. Another very long hold, but a great jump from the front row, at least from the outside. In the middle, Evan McFarlane has got to watch as Joni Palaneva tries to go the long way around. The KES Industries Subarus fires it a little bit wide and then gets shoved out wide by Alexander Abadi. All of the 10 Subarus and Fiestas, though, cycle over the jump safely, at least initially. Now into the wall, at least bouncing off of it. I believe that was Kieran Leifander. Goodness, it was a chaotic start, but Joe, this one a little bit more coordinated through the field.
Yeah, and I think that's the level of talent being up a notch higher on this one. So they all want to try and get to the finish. And man, just bumper cars coming up through turn 6 and 7 there. They all get through that one as well, but you can't hit each other too much. Remember, there's that incident limit.
You've got the fact that Evan McFarlane started on the front row, now down in 8th position. He'll be very frustrated. Running a bit wide went Zach Blanche in one of those Fiestas. He'll be on the outside now and pushed out wide by Joni Palaneva. Blocks off McFarlane from getting through as well. But it's really cost these drivers time. Lamin Sivu not ducking around and hanging around on the Joker. He's already now 3.5 seconds clear of Alexander Abadi.
Track position so important here. He's taken well advantage of it. Edmondson's going to try his best to catch up to Abadi there, and you can see the battle for P2, which has fallen off a little bit actually.
And so on board with Heiskanen, he'll take to the Joker, try and leapfrog Edmondson. He's not going to get in front though of Abadi, you'd think, in that team gold number 99, and indeed holds on to second.
Nicely done there by Alex. So still has that clear air. I mean, effectively, Ilari up in front of him is so far ahead that he's got kind of the same advantage. He's in clear air.
Yeah, we'll look from the rear shot of Lamin Sivu, running, of course, from Europe, so rather late in the evening for them, but their dedication to their craft not to be questioned. They will show up for the top competitions when they're able. Lamin Sivu peeling away at the front, and this is very much a bit of a statement as well to heat number 2 for the rest of the drivers that we will see. Back over to the battle for second, though. Abadi still yet to take his Joker with 2 laps left to go. It's Edmondson and Heiskanen now fighting for third, effectively grid positions in the LCQ.
Exactly, and you do want to fight for them for those points. You want those grid positions, but you have to risk, reward, weight things and figure out, okay, what do I really want to maybe throw this race away for? And Edmondson swings it around through 6 and 7 once again. Abadi is still kind of creeping away from him.
Even Kieran Leifander, though, is in the mix here, and he's actually got the Joker to play with, although he's not going to take it this time. We'll save it for the very final lap of the race and try and leapfrog his way potentially up in towards 3rd or 4th position. Palaneva will take to the Joker, emerges just behind Leifander's number 20, but up towards the front. Lamin Sivu already up towards the hairpin, yoinks on the handbrake, locks the rear tires, and 5.5 seconds clear, ready to watch his way on towards the main event and see who joins him up towards the front.
Right now, it's looking like a pretty simple answer on that one, because not only is he far ahead, but now Abadi is up by 2.5 seconds here.
A dominant display for Lamin Sivu. Pole, and then the victory in heat number 1. Abadi will advance as expected. The question is behind. Leifander able to secure the best starting spot in the LCQ. Leapfrogs Heiskanen and Edmondson as we now wait for the rest of the drivers to come to the end. Remarkably, after what we saw in RX2, Joe, all 10 machines will see the checkered flag.
Yeah, so again, skill level is that much higher, but we did see a lot of what I was talking about there, that if you make any sort of mistake, everybody's ready to pounce on it.
We'll grab a look at your race results very quickly. Just remind you that yes, all cars did finish. McFarlane, the biggest loser, of course, after starting on the outside, or rather in the middle of the front row. He's down in 8th. Lamin Sivu, Abadi, the only 2 to advance on forward. We'll take a look at the starting grid for the second and only other heat that we'll see today before we jump into the last chance qualifiers. It's Jacob Rafos, Jukka Pakala, and then on the outside, Josh Fox on the front row. Connor Parisi, Maciek Sochaki, and Sami Mata will be on row 2, while it's Russell Peterson, Sean Winkler, and Trenton Browley in the team gold, number 19, that joins us at the very back of the second and final heat. And of course, all focus will be on the front, where Jukka Pakala's in the rather unenviable position of being in the middle of Jacob Rafos and Josh Fox. The engines are roaring once again. They're ready to go for heat number 2 with another 5 laps on the board. Fox with a great jump. The Pennsylvania native in the Williams Esports car looks the long way around, trying to work his way past Pakala in the no-control machine alongside. Some contact, some dooring behind. Rafos clear into the opening corner.
I was a little worried because Rafos was kind of edging forward, but he didn't get a penalty for that one, so it was kosher as, oh my goodness, Peterson winds up in the wall behind them. But look at these leaders already streaking across the dirt towards the pavement.
Josh Fox not going to be able to look up the inside of Pakala as we file back onto the dirt, and now already Rafos 1 second clear. Fox alongside as we file in through the international horseshoe. Surely Rafos goes Joker, covers off any move from behind. No, he does not, and Fox doesn't either. Tries to get the move done on track.
Both of them shallow into the turn, but there's long braking distances in these cars because of those tires, so they had to plan that move very, very early. Meanwhile, as they jump over the leap and down into 4 and 5, once again cutting underneath, can't quite get the power down. It was a good try, but now look at this second phase of it, Rojuna. He's going to get him.
That's the grip strip. That's the Rallycross experience from Fox, and the World Championship race winner slides up the inside of Jukka Pakala. Connor Parisi's joined them as well. Goodness, what a great move that was.
So that's going to get him in a transfer spot, but it's not over. Kind of surprised Pakala still didn't take that Joker to try and undercut him a little bit there. He's going to have to try and get this one back, and without many laps to do it.
On board with Connor Parisi, another one of the Nitro Circus sim racing team that, of course, runs in virtual reality. You can see the Pimax crystal on his head there. Very wide headset, and always interesting to see the perspectives where these drivers are looking. Once again, Fox just runs his way, rather awkwardly it should be said, out of that dirt section in the middle, but it's just such a fast line. Now already 8/10 clear of third as we cycle back toward the final corner.
Yeah, Parisi unfortunately clipped the inside wall. So easy to do there as he's going to try and take the Joker this time, but it's not going to get him ahead of both. Just one of them. He'll pass Pakala.
And Pakala now must respond. 2 laps to go. He's already almost out of the 2-second Joker delta to Fox in that Williams Esports machine. Runs a little bit wide through the double right-hander. Back towards the hairpin that they will go. Rafos has broken away 2.5 seconds from Josh Fox. Didn't need a second invitation. Defending champion trying to respond to the gauntlet that Ilari Lamansivu has thrown down here at Daytona.
Yeah, watch out for those two when we get to the feature, and they can sit back and relax after this one too and watch what everybody else is doing out here as we hop on board with Pakala. Still not taking the Joker. Maybe going to try and do it on the last lap since there's no response to it if it works out right.
Behind, some other drivers still fighting as Sami Matta, Maciek Sachaki, and Sean Winkler all go. You can see in front of Sean Winkler that he's got those two almost barging down one another, and the real estate salesman wants to make sure that you know what his phone number is if you have any property for sale. But up towards the front, it's the dominant two as expected. It's Jacob Rafos and Josh Fox that will dive their way down onto the Joker and pick up their spots in the feature in heat race number 2. It's the World Championship drivers that assert their dominance on the field. Jukka Pakala does enough to leapfrog Connor Parisi, though, on his run to the line.
That's what I thought. He was just trying to wait until the last moment because you can't pass the other car if you're in front, and that's the end right there. So if you feel confident that you can snipe them, you can take that right at the closing.
And so Trenton Briley, with a late race retirement, will make his way directly, of course, into an LCQ. And as they get ready to go for one of 2 LCQs, again with 4 spots in the feature on the line, here's a look at the results. Rafos and Fox moving forward. The rest heading into the gauntlet of an LCQ. And, well, Kieran Leifender, Santeri Heiskanen, and Josh Edmondson have the best starting spots in this first one, with Joni Palaneva and Zach Blanche behind them. Evan McFarlane will be hoping that he can bounce his way on forward from 6th, Zachary Drapkin in 7th. 7 enter, 4 advance. There are 3 drivers that will be the odd pairing out come the end of the next 5 laps.
And they're just about all lined up already. In fact, I think they're good to go now.
It's always fast and frenetic, isn't it? As the drivers turn their attention towards that final corner once more. It's Kieran Leifender with a great launch that will lead them into that final corner. Up the inside, challenge attempted from Heiskanen, who pits the Subaru around. And with drifting off the corner, the known control 57 will go on through. Leifender gets churned off that turn 1 apex. Couple of cars bounce off the wall. It's chaos once more at Daytona.
Yeah, this is do or die time. That's why we're seeing drivers make some desperation moves. And McFarlane, Edmondson both missed the jump, and Leiflander didn't even get the start-finish line, unfortunately.
It's another brutal one after 2 relatively clean heats, and now we'll see how it settles in. 1 Joker still to be attempted. Heiskanen, Palaneva, Blanche, and Drapkin relatively comfortable, and only Heiskanen taking to the Joker as we come to the end of lap number 1.
So that's, again, going to get him that precious clear air, so Heiskanen can try and push now as hard as possible. Palaneva is going to get the dirt kicked up on him as they all jump across the leap there and down into 4 and 5. It's actually really tough because you're flying into 3, 4, and 5 with that speed as we take a look at what happened there in the first corner.
It was a bit of barging then, and Leifender runs himself into the gantry, and significant damage on the left side of his machine now.
That's not the bridge to gantry that you want to have, unfortunately. So he is all the way at the back and probably in a very damaged car on top of things. Heiskanen still going to lead Palaneva, who doesn't take his Joker that time.
I've got to say that McFarlane's in a great spot. Zachary, whoa, I say great spot as he almost noses the car into the ground off of the jump. Zachary Drapkin, someone that we saw in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational, dominating in Pro 2 and Pro 4 machines, of course, has plenty of experience in those racing vehicles in the real world, but Rallycross very different. We talked about it with Tom Grady, and it's really interesting to see Drapkin in the shark-infested waters of RX1, being fed to the lines in effect and feeling the pressure and the need to go to the Joker.
Oh, but he goes in way too deep. Unfortunately, overshot it quite a bit. So Drapkin going to have to find himself a little bit of pace here. He loses out to Blanche.
And a bit wide off the jump, a bit too much speed maybe on entry. Here comes McFarlane. The KES Industries 04 is now up into those 4 transfer spots, and Drapkin might have to watch in the rearview mirrors as well, because Josh Edmondson was involved in some drama at the start, and his Nitro Circus sim racing machine is coming as well.
Yeah, but he was sent so far back. I think this is going to be a hard one. Like I said, you can't give up on it. You know, you never know what can happen, but he's going to have to pass a lot of cars. Well, this will help a few because he's going to take the Joker.
He might emerge alongside with McFarlane. In fact, just behind. It is going to be a fight, though, between these two now towards the checkered flag. Although McFarlane still has that Joker in the back pocket, should be feeling relatively comfortable.
Here's the problem, though. Edmondson went over the white line. You can't do that. I talked about it earlier when we had that incident in the RX2s. If you go over that on the exit, it is a black flag and a time penalty, and now he's going to go to the back of the field again.
It doesn't matter in the end. A bit of a mistake there for that number 58 machine, the winner of the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational, but at the front, it's Yoni Palaneva that brings the number 31 to the line, victorious in LCQ number 1, advances along with Santeri Heiskanen, along with Zach Blanche. Zachary Drapkin should have just done enough, I tell you, because Evan McFarlane's had some drama on the final lap of the race.
Oh, so it could have gone his way, but looks like he was just shy. I think he spun off. Yeah, here we go. Here's the replay. Lost control. I think, again, that curb just bounced him a little too hard.
An unfortunate way for the day to come to an end after such an impressive showing. Back in wine country. Quick look at the race results, though, before we get ready to go for the second LCQ, with 4 more spots in the main event on the line. Palaneva, Heiskanen, Blanche, and Drapkin moving on forward. The rest, unfortunately, watching on from the sidelines and waiting to see if Yuka Pakala, Connor Parisi, or Maciek Sochaki can get on through, or if it will be Sammy Matta, Sean Winkler, Russell Peterson, or maybe Trenton Briley or Robbie Kirtley. This time we do have the full complement of 8, and they're already all on the line and revving their engines and getting ready to go for the second and final LCQ. It's a good jump away towards that final corner. Parisi a little bit stuck in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine. He'll barge the all-black machine of Sochaki wide, and it's status quo holding at least for the top 4 as they filter across the line. Parisi, though, into the wall. Drama with the gantry once again.
Oh, things just seem to narrow up there, and they're going 3 wide over the jump. I don't think I've ever seen that. And more cars getting turned. That's going to be Matta.
And so Pakla, I think, mixed up momentarily as well. He got on through, but Sachaki will lead them with a fire up the inside from the no control number 92. New race leader, Jukka Pakla, as Sachaki has to avoid the second switchback in the wall. It will slow him up for Russell Peterson in that 59 to try and fire it up in toward the Joker section. Another dramatic start, though, in the LCQ.
Pakla started this one from pole, and he found his way back there eventually, but sort of a roundabout way to do things. Yeah, look at how close they get to that gantry, even on a normal racing lap, and we're going to be single file this time on the second lap around.
And so immediately, let's go back to the start and just watch them, because they were 3 wide at the front in towards that final corner, and somehow Parisi didn't give too much of a shove to Sachaki, and then there was a bit of contact between Pakla and Parisi that instigated all of the madness.
Yeah, and I think that's what caused our 3 wide over the jump, because you can see that kind of tipped him sideways a little bit as well, right into our camera. And the undercut, wow, they all 3 got through there. I can't believe that.
I have never seen that before. Never, ever, ever. That is remarkable. But as we come to the end of lap number 2, it says Pakla now with the Joker has established an advantage at the front. Still Sachaki, Peterson and Briley behind, but with no one else having Jokered, you can't count Parisi out of this just yet, I'd say.
Certainly not, and he's 2 positions out of it, but we've seen that drama can erupt so easily, including side-by-side door banging between Briley and Winkler, and in fact, Briley gets a little bit out of sorts coming through the S's. He'll catch it up, but he's going to lose the spot, and he'll try and take it back with the Joker.
2 seconds again. Remember, that's what a perfectly executed Joker will get you, and it's what Trenton Briley has taken advantage of to jump back forward up into the top 4, but surely it will be reversed at some time in the future. Let's jump on forward, though, through the field. We can watch the hands of Russell Peterson work, both in the sim and in reality.
Yeah, so get his perspective here, and he's got the Dale Jr. gloves even going on, so a full iRacing mode here today as he tries to find himself a transfer spot to get to the main show. Somebody's not going to.
Oh, Sean Winkler's gone around. Heartbreaking there in that 720, but it means Parisi now a little bit closer to a potential spot in the main event. And as we cycle onto the final lap of the race, because Jukka Pakla's launched his car over the jump and to the boards at the very final lap, Connor Parisi's within 1.5 seconds of Trenton Briley.
Ooh, race could be on, but it'll take something a little bit desperate here, although he gets very close down through 4 and 5, actually, as we watch the leader. And there you go, going to be side by side up to the hairpin.
Big shove there by Parisi, almost launches it off the tires on the inside. Gets a better run, though, onto the tarmac, and as Jukka Pakla brings it to the victory of LCQ number 2, it's Briley and Parisi into the final corner, but with one having a 2-second shortcut to leapfrog their way on through. And so such experience for Parisi. He'll bring his way on forward into the main event. Another dramatic LCQ for us. Jukka Pakla, Maciek Sachaki, Russell Peterson and Connor Parisi have done just enough.
Kind of watching to see once we get the last car. Oh yeah, there it is. Sachaki is not going to make it. He cut across the line. He got a black flag at the end.
So we'll grab a replay of that, but wow. iRacing automatic race control steps into action, and Maciek Sachaki thought he had done enough to get his way into the main event, but it's not going to be.
Yeah, I kind of saw that happen, and I wondered, that's a bit strange that he would make a silly mistake. I mean, I wonder if he thought he was very close to the win and it was worth trying to go for it, but I think it bit him in the end.
So one more look, and this is on that final lap. Just talk us through, Joe, what we should be seeing.
So you'll see a white line to the car's left on the exit of the Joker. So watch for that. There's also a white line on the exit on the entry that you have to be within. So that's why they come in so narrow. And here is up to the outside right there, all the way across it. And that's a black flag. Now, I thought it would just be a time penalty, but I think it actually sent him down a lap or something because he fell all the way to 6th.
Well, my suspicion would be that as we will slow it down European super slow-mo style, just to see the white line. That's what Joe's talking about. My suspicion is it counts it as a lap that was not completed because technically you didn't complete the Joker lap.
So that would be, so that would be a very harsh penalty if you didn't do your joker, even though technically it's not doing your actual joker would be worse because that's longer length. It's still a penalty because you didn't do what everybody else was supposed to. So the devil's in the details, my friend.
It always is. Quick look at the results as we've got 30 seconds left in the warm-up and now a track reset as well. So the drivers adapting to some changing conditions in the sim. Pakala, Peterson, Parisi and Mata will advance. Bradley, Sachaki, Winkler and Kirtley unfortunately missing out on the main event. But now 10 more laps of action, Joe, and what a wild one it's been at Daytona so far.
I love what we're seeing here in this RX1. Some really savvy moves out there, and definitely a few drivers that are getting creative to try and get themselves back into it. But as it is, you definitely got to watch out for every little rule because we've seen now a couple times those things matter.
Don't forget, you can use the code Racecraft on nextlevelracing.com to get 5% off, but we're ready to go for 10 laps of racing, and Ilari Lamansiv will be alongside Jacob Rafos and Alexander Obedi on the run in towards turn number 1. Who'll have the best run off the line? Who will get the best dance in through the corner? We're about to find out. Josh Fox and Joni Palaneva behind them, with Jukka Pakala then in 6th position, and then Santeri Heiskanen, Russell Peterson, Zach Blanche, Connor Parisi, and Zachary Drapkin and Sammy Mata round out the 12-car field. Again, 10 laps on the board, 5 more than what we've seen so far today. And it's also the biggest field, Joe, that we've seen so far.
And who was watching last time, seeing that taking the joker lap early winds up being quite good just to get yourself out of potential trouble. Who's going to take it at the end of lap 1?
Remember, our winner in RX2 came from 11th, Tyler Schell. Zachary Drapkin rolls from 11th. Could he take advantage of all of the drama? Well, all the cars are now on the line and just waiting for the signal to go racing. Wine Country was wild, yes. Jacob Rafos got his championship defense off on top. Ilari Lamansivu wants to make sure it's not 2 victories on the bounce for Jacob Rafos, though. Underway at Daytona, Rafos with a great start. Lamansivu gets the Havu Gaming car bogged down in the gears. He'll have to slot in behind the Nitro Circus Sim Racing car. Defending champion leads us across the line to start the first official lap of racing, but all 12 of them filter over the jump safely for the first time of asking.
Yeah, and that was about the tiniest start we've had, I think, so far. As soon as I say that in the background, we get, I think it was Peterson tipped around along with Drapkin, but everybody at the front, nicely done. They're in for the long haul.
And I think it's going to be crucial now to make sure that these drivers don't lose too much ground to those at the front. Jacob Rafos, if you give him an opportunity, will break away. Look how much they're dancing back here. Blanche, Pakala, Parisi, Mata in towards the final corner. No one at the front will take the joker the first time by. First car to dive to the inside. Looks like Joni Palaneva in that no control esports car. He'll slide up into 4th position.
Yeah, that's going to work out pretty decently for him. He's still got Josh Fox in front of him, and also Obedi kind of breathing down his neck. So he's not completely in the clear, but he gained a couple spots through that joker. Now, can he hold on to him is the real question. Does he have the pace to keep from losing them right back?
I think what we are quite curiously seeing is the fact that Fox seems to be one of the few drivers using that grip strip on the inside of turns 4 and 5. Rafos and Lamansivu a little less willing to take potentially a little bit of a risk there. Diving to the inside, taking the joker, Alexander Obedi in Team Gold car, and he'll almost separate Josh Fox from the front too. There's going to now be a slowdown as the Pennsylvania native tries to get back to the inside, but this is the time penalty that those top 2 need to stretch their advantage.
And Beatty got kind of nudged off there, so he's going to try and switch back, but it looks like Palaneva is going to make great use of this whole situation and be able to stay ahead, although he gets a little hello from behind.
Let's go back up towards the front, though, as much as these drivers are going to be pushing each other for podium, for consolation positions. Jacob Rafos with the death stare through the corners. He always looks like he's pushing 10 tenths, even maybe more than that. But Lamansivu's not letting him break away. 3 laps now in the books. It's just under a second between the two.
We've seen just little inputs that are slightly off can be costly in this series. So yeah, this is not over, especially 7/10 of a second. Gonna be hard to make the pass, but all he needs is a tiny hiccup from the 13.
And they've left Josh Fox behind, so that's important because we know that Fox is running a different line that maybe will be faster as the dirt moves around. Again, a refresh after the second LCQ just before the warm-up means that as Ilari Lamansivu slams the wall slightly coming in towards the final corner, they are all just trying to make sure their cars handle the way that they would expect. They get so close to that gantry at the line though, Joe. We've already seen some drama there before.
Yeah, I mean, they're using every inch of it that they can because you have to have the full speed. As a couple of, it looks like Lemon Sivu and Rafis are both using that grip strip you were talking about through 4 as well. So maybe that's what's helping them move forward. Battle for 4th place on your screen, though, currently being led by Palaneva still.
Beatty yanks on the handbrake, rear end really over-rotates on him for a second there, costs him a bit of time. Further behind, 2 drivers yet to Joker, Parisi and Blanche swap around as the number 11 machine continues to carve its way up on forward. None of these drivers will Joker as half race distance is officially in the books, and only half the drivers have Jokered. This is the thing with the shortcut, is you're trying to use it strategically. You don't want to use it too early and leave yourself in a position where you can't respond to events around you. And at the same time, you don't want to leave it too late so that those in front can break away.
Absolutely, and as they swing down into 6 and 7 once again, Heiskanen looks like he's got quite a bit of pressure here from Abadi. He's just been pushing from behind, and both of them have taken their Jokers, so they are even.
Yeah, and they've got to worry that if those 3 behind, Parisi, Blanche, and Mata are closing, that they could put themselves into the Joker range, although it looked like Parisi was playing bumper cars with Blanche. Mata took to the Joker. That'll cost them all a little bit of time in and amongst themselves. Again, valuable championship points. The most points are paid out in this feature race. Everyone has got to this point and knows that is crucial in and of itself. Still 1 second though up towards the front. There will be 3 to go next time by. If you're Lam and Sivu, do you Joker early just to put some pressure onto that 13 machine up front?
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. See, here's the thing. If you're doing the exact same thing the leader is, you're not going to pass them. So you got to do something different just to try and shake things up.
Over the jump, you can see just how committed they truly are. These are 2 drivers right now at the top of their game, and because of the way the dirt is moving around Joe, they're having to adapt all the time. Connor Parisi almost misjudges the jump. He's sideways in the air.
And somehow comes away with it. Doesn't even lose the position. Unbelievable stuff from Connor. But yeah, you're right. While pavement drivers are used to the track evolving, even here in iRacing, on the dirt side, it's much more dramatic. You can see how much it's drying out, and that means it's going to be a lot more slippery in those places. You'll get more grip where there's moisture still in the dirt.
And they've all Jokered now, with the exception of Zach Blanche, who might be able to get up in front of Heiskanen. In fact, Jokers this time by, right as we're talking about it, behind the 57, in front of the 11 and the 99. Back to the front as they get ready to bring it towards the white flag of this race. Lam and Sivu has tried, and I've got to say, he's probably tried as hard as he can, but Jacob Rafos continues to show why. On his way to the championship earlier this year, he grabbed 7 victories along the way. He's ready to make it 2 for 2 with 1 lap to go.
Betty and Blanche had a 3-wide moment. I don't think we'll get a chance to see a replay of. So if you see them falling down the order, they all tangled coming through one of the tightest parts of 4 and 5. Last lap here for Jacob, and I'd say that, I mean, he is just sitting pretty at this stage. He's way too far away for Lam and Sivu to really do anything.
But expect the unexpected. You are never safe in Rallycross until you get yourself to the checkered flag. For 9 laps, the gap was under a second. Lam and Sivu on the final lap, I think, realized he could not do anything. It's Jacob Rafos, 2 for 2, and perfect so far in his title defense, victorious at the World Center of Racing. Lam and Sivu on his return grabs second. Josh Fox will grab third to make it a World Championship podium to celebrate. But what can you say other than there's no stopping Jacob Rafos?
I mean, there's a reason he's got over 10K I rating. I believe he's the first driver on the dirt roadside to achieve that number. So he's going to have that in his pocket for forever, essentially. Nobody else can claim that but him. And I think he's just giving a little bit of hot dogging to celebrate now.
And you'll notice that as soon as the race is finished, he's not in a corner. It no longer looks like he's trying to stare you down and look deep into your soul in the camera.
Exactly. Well, as he does some donuts to have some fun here at the end. Also, Josh Fox, I don't know if we mentioned this, nice podium from him, up one from outside of those top 3 spots at the start.
And he made sure not to lose too much time with the fight behind. Yes, the early joker from, I think it was Yoni Palaneva, caught him maybe a little bit by surprise, but ultimately Fox did what he needed to in a long season relative. 6 rounds doesn't seem like a lot, but made sure that he made his way into the podium point scoring spots. Rafos for the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team, though, superior to them all once more. 2 for 2 to kick off the season with Lam and Sivu and then Fox the rest of those podium spots. Yoni Palaneva leads the No Control squad to a 4th and 5th positions with Connor Parisi in 6th, Sammy Matta 7th, and then Alexander Obedi after the unfortunate tangle down in 8th spot. Russell Peterson in the Scuderia Stunzi number 59 is 9th, with Zachary Drapkin, the unfortunate victim of early contact with Peterson, down on the tail end of the lead lap, but at least on the lead lap, same could not be said for Zach Blanche or for Yuka Pakala. We will give it a few moments for the drivers to join their way on in towards the broadcast booth to join us for a quick chat, and I do want to go back and see if we could spool up a little bit of replay to what happened to Alexander Obedi, Joe.
Yeah, so we were going to see, I think this is where we got cars side by side through 6 and 7, just got into each other, and unfortunately there's those concrete walls on either side, so as soon as you're heading towards them, you're on dirt, there's not much you can do to stop that. And then, on top of things, 3 wide doesn't quite work, especially when you're flying through the air over the sausage curbs.
And that was on the nose of Zach Blanche, whose Ford said, "No thank you, my engine is gone." And that's why that car tumbled down the running order as well. So that was a look at what happened to the Team Gold Racing machine, but we can now make our way down towards victory lane, where once again Joe Peak is standing by with now 2-time race winner on the season, Jacob Rafos.
Yes, indeed, Jacob. Excellent run out there. You looked quite in control of this last race, but were you nervous at the start to see if maybe Lam and Sivu would try and send one up the inside?
Yeah, he definitely held me under pressure though. That was for sure. He was really fast, to be honest, and I haven't seen him in a long time. So yeah.
Yeah, kept it within a second or so for most of the race. You didn't have that in the other in the heat races there. Are you used to dealing with that sort of pressure? Do you feel pretty comfortable in those situations?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like I think I have like good experience with it, like having the pressure on, and so for sure, and same with the World Championship and stuff. I just kept running my own laps and see how it go. It was good enough, but yeah, I didn't pay much attention to Laurie, to be honest. Looked in the mirror a few times, but that was it.
And it all worked out in the end. I've got to call some of your races over on the jumpy trucks as well there, with the regional and the short course series stuff. How do you feel about those trucks compared here to the rally cars? Do you like being here in these lighter machines more?
Actually, it's pretty. I like driving the trucks more than this one. So we got 2 wins in the World Championship, and yeah, Connor's League in the Irish and short course last year. Looking to take another podium there. Maybe we got second there, and starting in January or something, but yeah, I'm looking forward to try and get a new podium there. So, and probably there's another World Championship. I'll for sure try to go for the win.
Well, we'll keep an eye out for you if we manage to get that someday. Congratulations on back-to-back victories to start it off.
And so that's Jacob Rafos, I think, who I was waiting for him to thank the sponsors, which sometimes he does do, but from victory lane, we can slide our way on over to Ilari Lam and Sivu. Great to have you back in a Rallycross car, Ilari. Talk us through qualifying first, because, boy, right back on pole position, fastest of them all. How did that feel to you?
Actually, I was really disappointed to the lap, because I was practicing pretty much the qualification this week. So I think there was maybe like 2 tenths like extra, so there was still something left.
Classic racing driver, pole position, but still disappointed. You weren't even faster. That Havu Gaming car looked very fast, though, in that first heat. Talk to us about the start of the main event, because that seemed like the really crucial moment where Jacob was able to get in front, and from there, you put a lot of pressure on, but it was difficult to get past.
Yeah, I actually now just were checking those starts from each of us, and I'm really not sure like how they can start so well, like Fox and Jacob. But I think I need to figure something, because I think that was like pretty alright start for me, but it wasn't definitely enough.
I mean, that's the thing, right? You've been out of the car for a little bit. Was it fun to be back? Are we going to expect you for the rest of the season as well? Hopefully. The Havu Gaming car looked very fast.
Yeah, I hope I can manage some races still. Like, I think next week I definitely need to skip, because I have pretty much work, and I actually don't have any kind of setup for next week track, because the track came then when I started to have that break from sim racing, so it will be too tough next week for me.
Well, Ilari, we'll miss you at Brands Hatch. It was great to see you back in a Rallycross machine, though, and hopefully we'll see you for the second half of the season later in November.
Yeah, thank you. We will see.
Ilari Lamansivu, fastest in qualifying, unfortunately just misses out on the victory because, well, Jacob Foss is not one to be stopped sometimes. Josh Fox got mixed up in the battle on the start further back, and that separated him out from those top two, but still on the podium for the second week in a row. Josh, talk us through that day for the Williams Esports number 12.
Yeah, looked like a bit of a challenge at first with being down in qualifying. Just really didn't get the lap I wanted, and managed to have a clean heat, transfer right through, and had a good favorable grid spot for the main there, and got a good launch. Pretty clean turn one and first lap, but yeah, it was really tough with the guys jokering and trying to have their own race behind, and came out side by side I think 2 or 3 times, and the top two definitely broke away there, unfortunately. But I thought, like, on the fresh track we were able to tag on to the end of their battle and try to keep a bit of pressure on, but that kind of went out the window with some other strategy. But regardless, seems like need to go back to the drawing board a little bit on a setup for when the track gets worn toward the end of the main events. Definitely losing out a little bit here on pace toward the end of these races, so go to work and come back stronger for the next ones.
We saw you searching out for that grip strip, of course, after the jump, just after that double right-hander. Some of those tricks that the World Championship drivers, of course, learned. But we're going to Brands Hatch next, with the worst of the grip strips of them all. What do you think that means, though, in terms of the driving? Because it looks quite interesting, of course, the fact that you're compromising the corner before that, trying to find where the car's faster slightly further down the road.
Yeah, any opportunity us drivers have to get creative with the lines and run somewhere you wouldn't traditionally expect. I like the way it puts it in the driver's hands more, figuring out your own technique for how to get through those types of sectors best. And I think some of my dirt oval background pays off a bit on that. Need to search around a lot on dirt oval for grips, so I think that fits well. And yeah, look forward to those opportunities.
Always interesting to get the drivers' opinions on those little details. Congratulations on another podium, Josh. We'll see you next week at Brands Hatch.
Thank you very much.
The Williams Esports number 12 across the line on the final step of the podium. And, well, that's our podium interviews done and dusted, Joe. And, wow, 90 minutes of broadcasting later. So much action for us to shout our way on through. And we've already kind of previewed what we're in for at Brands Hatch in 1 week's time. But you were talking about one of those jumps. This is the one down out of Druids. The most maybe dangerous of them all.
Yeah, exactly. You're heading downhill, so you're going to be gaining speed, and you got to watch out for it. And a weird one, because, I mean, look at that Joker. Really doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, all it's going to do is separate everybody just a little bit more than usual for about a corner, and then you're going to have to deal with each other on the exit of it as well. So it's a tricky one. It's a complicated one. It's a fast one. And it's going to be fun.
And that Joker as well is so bumpy that you're right, it's the delta in speed off the tarmac. You just carry so much more momentum into turn number 1. And you can kind of get a sense for how undulating the entry is here. But it's going to be interesting to see who's the most committed, because the Joker here today definitely did prove to, for some, be a little bit of a tricky thing to execute perfectly, and that's what we always talk about with deltas with Jokers is execution at the perfection level. 3 weeks back-to-back to open up the season, though, and then a bit of a break. It'll be nice, Joe, for the drivers to finish up at Brands Hatch and then reflect on how the first half of the Racecraft RX powered by Next Level Racing season has gone for them all.
Yeah, and sometimes you need that to just refresh yourself and maybe take the chance to look at everything that's happened, because when it's just week after week like this, everybody can maybe lose sight of, well, maybe I should go back and review that race and think about what happened. What can I do different? So honestly, there's something to be said for a break, not just for everybody else to breathe, but for also to give your mind a chance to reset.
And you heard some of the drivers in RX1 talking about setups and what they wanted to find with the speed in the car, so that will be something that they'll go on and work off in the few weeks that we are away. But as we look from up above at the World Center of Racing, it's with, well, an expected winner maybe in RX1. It's with a rather unexpected winner, I think, in some ways in RX2. What a wild ride Rallycross once again throws at RaceSpotTV, and we're so glad that you came along for the ride with us. Same time and same place next week on October 29th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Join us at Brands Hatch to close out the first half of the Racecraft Rallycross presented by Next Level Racing schedule. Don't forget, you can use the code Racecraft on nextlevelracing.com to save 5% on your purchase. Thank you to them for their support of Racecraft, Rallycross, and everything that Racecraft does. What a weekend of action, and of course, another week beckons, but for now, it's time to say goodbye. For Joe Peak, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the other side of the pond to continue with the Rallycross bashing and banging at Brands Hatch.